Most religions share a belief that the body and spirit coexist, until the body has perished and the spirit moves on into the afterlife. However, there are those that remain. Some stay with a purpose. Some are doomed to relive their own violent deaths. These spirits are one of the oldest aspects associated with Halloween. For generations to come, people will still gather around the campfire to tell the stories of ghosts.
Welcome to 13 Degrees of Screams,
where we watch and dissect your favorite spooky movies.
I'm your host, Alex.
And Stephanie.
And this is a mostly horror podcast.
Each season, we will rank 13 movies on a scariness scale from, you guessed it, 1 to 13.
We will uncover the real-life myths and legends that inspire these movies and tell you just how authentic they are.
This week, we sell some haunted real estate with The Haunted Mansion.
So, Stephanie, have you seen The Haunted Mansion before we watched it for the podcast?
Yes.
Do you like The Haunted Mansion?
I don't like the movie. Love the ride.
You didn't like the movie?
Mm-mm. They could have done a lot better.
Really?
Yeah.
That shocks me.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. I've watched it a few times. It's fine. But
really?
I think the ride itself tells a lot more interesting stories than what they chose to tell.
That's fair. I've only been on the ride one time. I've only been to Disney one time.
That's shocking to me.
How's that shocking?
I've been on the ride, probably every time I've gone to Disney, at least 7 times.
Well, girl, I've only been to Disney once, so I can only ride the ride once.
Yeah, okay.
I actually really like this movie.
Okay.
Surprisingly enough.
All right. Well, my complaint is when you go through the graveyard area of the house, even though it's inside, is that they have a haunted ghost bride towards the end. That's interesting. They have skeletons having tea parties and stuff like that. These are a lot more interesting segments of stories rather than what we get, I think.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I don't have that kind of background, so I guess for me, what they put in was pretty good. But I guess I could see your disappointment if there's all these other options that they could have put into it. I'm ignorant and did not know, so I get it. Okay, I could see that. I could see being disappointed in what could have been.
Yes.
Versus what we actually got. Now, where did you rate The Haunted Mansion on this scary scale?
I believe I did a 2.
I did 2 as well.
Okay.
We are still in the kid-friendly scenario, and I think overall this was a little scarier than Casper.
Just a little.
Just not much. I think there's more going on.
Yeah.
Because Casper, kind of talked about, obviously in that episode, it was just, they were the ghosts.
It was more practical jokes than it was scares.
Yeah. This has some actually, legitimate freaky moments for a kid.
Yes.
You know?
And way too many spiders.
There are a lot of spiders in this movie.
Don't care for that.
No. Are you ready to dive in some of the background of the movie?
Yeah.
So, The Haunted Mansion is a 2003 American supernatural horror comedy film. And it's 2003. It's way older than I thought.
Yeah.
I feel like this came out relatively recently, but no, it's been a while.
I thought 2009?
Yeah, no,
felt later.
2003. And I've only ever seen it a handful of times when it first came out, but it feels still pretty new.
Yes.
Weirdly enough, but never mind. As kind of we alluded to, that the movie is based off of the attractions that are located in 3 of the parks. Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, and Tokyo Disneyland has a version of it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so the Haunted Mansion attraction features a ride-through tour on an omni-mover vehicle called the Doom Buggies. A walk-through show is displayed to riders waiting in the queue line. Each location differs slightly in its design, utilizing a range of technology from century-old theatrical effects to modern special effects, including the spectral audio animatronics.
Yes. Which is cool, because they're not just the standard layout across all the different parks. Mm-hmm. I would like to see the different ones.
Yeah, I wonder if they're noticeably different or just here and there.
I'm sure they are, for some reason. I believe it's in Disneyland. I know they decorate the Haunted Mansion for Christmas.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Which, I don't know if it's just the outside of it, but I've been to Disney World for Christmas, and it was not decorated for that.
Oh.
I'm sad about that.
That's sad. The movie stars Eddie Murphy as a realtor along with his family who becomes trapped in a haunted mansion. Shocking. Who knew the Haunted Mansion would take place at a Haunted Mansion?
No, really.
What a surprise. The film was theatrically released in the United States on November 26th in 2003, which they just missed the Halloween.
Oh, why? Why would they do that?
I don't know. I mean,
maybe they had to delay filming for some reason.
Yeah, and not necessarily that you have to release spooky movies around Halloween, but I feel like that's such a prime
It sure helps,
time to do that. And it's like just after, like right around Thanksgiving.
I think November, too, is typically a really dead time for movies to come out.
Maybe. I don't know. And shocking enough, it received negative reviews. I'm just shocked by that. I thought it was a good movie. Whatever. Regardless, it grossed $182 million on a $90 million budget. And, fun story, there's a reboot in the works for next year.
Good. I'm excited for it.
You want to hear some of the cast that's credited already?
Yes.
Whether or not this is true, it's on IMDb, so that's a good sign. We have Rosario Dawson, Owen Wilson, Jared Leto, and Danny DeVito.
What?
Also, Winona Ryder and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay. Some of them I'm like, okay, gotcha. Fun.
Jared Leto, take it or leave it. Everyone else, I'm like, what?
Yeah. No, because like Owen Wilson's been in scary stuff too. And
The Haunting.
Yeah, that's the one I could think of really. But Danny DeVito too?
But Jamie Lee Curtis?
That'll be fun.
Amazing.
Yes.
So I'm all about that. So hopefully in March of next year, which is when it says it's coming out, we have a new Haunted Mansion movie, which I'm all about.
And then a reboot for season 2.
Yeah. We'll do a whole season of just like remade movies.
Yeah.
There's many that we could probably talk about.
I'm sure. So, just a little on the plot. Sarah and Jim Evers are 2 successful realtors, but recently Jim has been more focused on making a profit than his family. He misses his wedding anniversary with Sarah, and to make up for it, agrees to take them on a trip to the lake.
She was mad.
She was pissed, yeah.
She was not having it.
No.
I get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the Evers and Evers, really, what was the catch line?
Where
you'll live happily forevers and ever.
Yeah, you'll live happily ever and ever, or something.
I'm like, you think they'd be on the same page here, or she'd work
alongside him?
Yeah, but he's like doing all these things on his own. I'm like, buddy.
He's trying to make it a more independent project, and she seems like she's just along for the ride. Like she maybe doesn't want to be a realtor.
Yeah.
Or not as madly as he does.
Yeah, because he's like...
He is really in for it, like...
intense.
Like competitively, almost.
Mm-hmm.
And soon after, they receive a call from a potential seller that wants Sarah to come see the Gracie Manor to put it on the market. But Sarah wants to decline since it would be while they're out of town. But Jim overhears and practically had dollar signs in his eyes at the anticipation of selling a place that luxurious. So he convinces Sarah and their kids, Megan and Michael, that they can just stop there on their way out of town.
First of all, this place is not luxurious. It may be large and in charge. I don't know. I would not call this mansion luxurious.
I guess not, no.
It's like dilapidated a little bit. You know, the stereotypical spider webs, very much like Whipstaff
Manor, yeah, definitely. A large fixer-upper is really what they're looking at. The largest.
The largest of fixer-uppers.
So they arrive at Gracie Manor, where the butler of Ramsey gives a brief introduction and insists they stay for dinner. Obviously, the family wants to get going because they have plans, but Jim obliges, not wanting to lose out on the deal. They meet Mr. Gracie and 2 servants, Emma and Ezra, who are certainly more charming than Ramsley, but it's clear that the focus is all on Sarah. Like, they are trying to, like, A, B, and C him out of this conversation.
Yeah. They're like, yeah. So Sarah.
Sarah has beautiful children, not Jim.
Yeah. Jim was not part of that equation. It was all Sarah. She just happened to give birth.
Yeah. They just spawn out of her. Anyway.
The children respond.
Almost instantly, Ramsey informs them that the storm, all of a sudden there's a storm, has flooded the road and everyone will have to stay the night.
They were there for like 2 seconds.
Yes.
And then it stormed.
Mm-hmm.
And then
to the point where it's flooded, yes.
I'm like, that's a monsoon.
Yes.
That's not a storm. Well, monsoon is a storm. But you know what I'm saying. Like,
that's a hurricane. A hurricane has happened.
It might as well be a hurricane, yes.
So they accept, but tensions run high with Sarah and Jim because he insisted on coming there. So Ramsey takes Jim to the library to discuss the deal with Gracie, but Jim becomes trapped in a secret passage. Gracie gives Sarah a tour of the mansion discussing his past and his grandfather's death after the suicide of his lover, Elizabeth. Megan and Michael follow a spectral orb to the attic, where they find a portrait of a woman that bears a striking resemblance to their mother.
Can we back up to the whole suicide plot line?
Yeah. I'll try to put it in there, but we can discuss it further. Yes, if you'd like.
No, I just like, we're talking about suicide again in a kid's movie. And
we just love to shoehorn that in.
Again, I don't know. I sound like a broken record probably, but again, at the beginning we were talking about how some of these things are just like whimsy child movie.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they don't like, I don't want to say they don't handle it well, but they're kind of just like, oh yeah, we're just openly talking about all this death. I'm just like...
I mean, to be fair, I don't know if you've ever noticed, too, because you only saw the ride once, the hanging of Mr. Gracie is authentic to the ride.
Okay.
Because, remember going into the elevator area of the...
Like the lobby area?
Yeah, so in the ride...
Not lobby. I'm thinking Tower of Terror.
No, it's sort of like an elevator, because you can kind of... It feels like you're shifting.
Right,
so,
yes.
You go into this lobby area... or whatever, to the left, and then there's these portraits hanging on the wall, and the room stretches. Then the portraits reveal how the people in the portraits have died.
Yeah.
And then the lights flash, and then you can see straight up above you, there's the shadow of a man hanging from a rope.
Oh, okay.
So you see, like, somebody has committed suicide right above your head.
I don't remember that, but it's one of those things, like, you don't notice unless you, like, really step back and just, like, try to, like, analyze and think about these things. Just how, like, yeah, that's just a plot in this movie.
No. I mean, it is upsetting that they just shoehorned suicide again into a child's movie.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be, like, overly touchy about it, but, like, if you really think about it, that's just kind of weird that it's just a thing. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's part of this movie.
I don't know if they were trying to go for more of, like, a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of situation, because that's also based on a ride.
Mm-hmm.
But Pirates of the Caribbean, it felt like got away with a lot more darker aspects than Haunted Mansion.
That also had a PG-13 rating, where this is like straight up just PG. So
right, that is true.
Just an interesting thing to actually like think about that. Like some of these heavy topics are just kind of like, that happened. So just a note.
There's also murder.
Yeah, like that's fine.
We love a murder. So meanwhile, Jim runs into Madame Leota, the ghost head of a Romney woman, otherwise known as a gypsy, but that's rude, that's encased in a crystal ball. Spooked, he makes a run for it, chased by floating instruments, and runs into the servants and his children. They discuss the portrait of Elizabeth and its similarities to Sarah, then return to Madame Leota for answers. It is revealed that the mansion and its inhabitants are ghosts, cursed to remain here due to the untimely death of their master, and can't move on until Mr. Gracie and Elizabeth are reunited. And Sarah is believed to be Elizabeth's reincarnation.
Yeah.
Just you know.
Random
woman they found.
Yeah.
Literally, like, it's such a small part of it, but in the beginning, you see the paper get delivered to the mansion, and their flyer falls out. And so I guess that's what Ramsley saw of her, and that's what struck the whole thing together.
Yeah. Can I say how lucky these ghosts are that they're realtors? That is just such an easy way to get them over.
Right. What if they were just chefs or something? Like,
can you come over and cook me a meal? What if they were accountants? Can you do my taxes? I mean, that's actually pretty good.
Most of them, I think. What would be a weird job for them to have where you wouldn't go to someone's house?
They work at Walmart. Can you come over and stock my shelves?
That's implied.
I don't know what that means, but you can figure it out.
So, Leota then gives them a riddle to help break the curse, leading them to the mausoleum where they are attacked by the undead and a whole mess of spiders. But they do manage to escape and find a key.
That's my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Because there's like zombies.
The mausoleum.
Yeah.
They go down to get the key, and then all of a sudden these zombies attack.
Right. They just crawl out of the walls and everything.
And Megan is the coolest character in this movie. She's so brave.
She's basically solving the mystery by herself.
Yeah. Just leave it to Megan.
Like, she speaks Latin and everything, too, so she can read all the stuff that's on the mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So when they return to Leota, she leads them to a trunk in the attic that contains a letter from Elizabeth stating that she loved Gracie and wanted to marry him, meaning that she didn't commit suicide. Ramsley suddenly appears and locks the children away in the trunk and throws Jim out of the house because he is the one that killed Elizabeth to stop Mr. Gracie from running off with her.
Dun, 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 dun.
Meanwhile, Mr. Gracie tries to convince Sarah that she is Elizabeth and scares her with his urgency and ghostly form, chasing her, trying to get her to remember. Ramsley then blackmails her to marry Mr. Gracie to ensure her children's safety.
Yeah, now we're blackmailing people.
Yeah.
Like, marriage? That's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
She's already married.
Yeah. And Mr. Gracie is kind of like unaware he's making her do this. Like, he's never in the room when Ramsley is like attacking people or.
Yeah, so Ramsey's doing all this stuff, and Mr. Gracie's just living his I keep saying
Ghost
living
life.
their life. They're not living. They're dying. They're dead. I don't know.
He's just sad because he thinks that maybe there's an issue that it's not really Elizabeth because she doesn't remember.
Yeah.
But Ramsley assures her, in time she will. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
I know just the thing to say.
Just forcing her to do all this stuff.
Yeah. So Jim drives into the manor to get back in and stops the ceremony by giving Gracie the letter that Elizabeth wrote. However, Ramsley has already poisoned Sarah and in a rage damns them, which summons hell to open up to take him for his crime.
Yeah.
He just had to say the word.
That is crazy. The ground opens up.
That is the scariest part, honestly.
Hell's flames just grab him. I was like, oh, we're going there, the whole heaven and hell concept.
Yeah, and he tries to take Jim with him, but Gracie manages to save him before they're just stuck in hell, I guess. And Sarah becomes possessed by the spectral orb that the children had seen earlier. And the orb turns out to be Elizabeth's ghost, who could only be released from her current form once the truth was revealed, and thanks Jim for saving her. Elizabeth and Gracie reunite as Sarah is subsequently revived. With the curse lifted, Gracie gives the Evers the deed to the mansion and goes to heaven with Elizabeth, Emma, Ezra, and the mansion's other inhabitants. It's a lot of E-names.
Yeah, Evers, Elizabeth, Emma, Ezra.
Mm-hmm. The Evers drive off into the sunset on their vacation, joined by Leota and 4 singing busts that they encountered while searching for the mausoleum strapped to their car.
Yay, happy ending.
Which I don't understand why they didn't want to go.
I know.
Wouldn't you want to go? Like,
are the busts possessed by ghosts? Like, what is that whole situation about?
Do gypsies not get to go to heaven?
I guess
Is that what they're trying to say?
I don't know.
Disney.
Disney. Why not? My Madame Leota. Come on now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she's not a ghost?
I don't know.
Speaking of ghosts, want to go into their characteristics?
Sure thing.
Sure thing.
Mr. Gracie and the staff take on a human form-like appearance that can be touched and interacted by the living. They basically look just like normal people.
Mm-hmm. Except when they don't.
Yeah.
Because then they could change into the whole stereotypical see-through bluish, grayish hue.
They can, like, just disappear, walk through walls, just reappear. Yeah, it's crazy.
They do what they want, honestly.
Right. And it seems when the specters are outside the house, they are still visible as their human selves, but are cast in a blue, partially see-through light.
Mm-hmm.
And are no longer able to make direct contact with physical objects. Elizabeth's spirit is more aloof because of her death and appears as a blue ball of light. Until the true nature of her death is revealed, she's able to possess Sarah to convey the message and maybe heal her from poisoning, because Sarah did drink the poison that Ramsey gave her.
Should not have been alive.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, Eddie Murphy's trying to revive Sarah is very phoned in. He's just like, Sarah,
come on,
wake up, we gotta go.
We gotta sell this house, and then we gotta go on vacation,
yes.
And then sell another house.
Yes. And Madame Leota's spirit is confined to her crystal ball, but she can move objects around the room. And the spirits are cursed to remain at the mansion because of Mr. Gracie's pain over losing Elizabeth. So it's not so much that they're haunting the house, they are cursed to remain in that property.
It's interesting. It reminds me of like Beauty and the Beast. And instead of turning into objects, they're just stuck at the house. Right.
And they can't move on until the lovers have been reunited.
Yeah. So that whole spawns into the whole idea of curses now. Like, what causes a curse?
Right.
Trauma?
Apparently. That's a common key figure with, it seems, ghosts.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily, like you said, not moving on, like in Casper.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like forced to stay because someone else's other
somebody
business.
else is handling a trauma. That's strange too.
Isn't that weird?
What if you were just a servant and you had a completely fulfilled life? You know, you were happy, but your boss is unhappy, so you gotta stay?
Yeah, I know, right? You cannot leave till the work's done, but in this case, until we figure out the mystery and I'm reunited.
I'm like, geez, am I gonna get paid overtime for this?
They're not getting paid. They never got paid.
Oh, no.
I think they're servants, are they not?
Yeah.
Do they get paid?
I don't know.
Do they need money, though?
And it's also kind of implied, though, since they were a biracial couple, that maybe that's why Elizabeth and Mr. Gracie weren't allowed to be together.
Probably. They don't
say it,
but
no.
I think it's implied heavily.
Yes.
That was one of the big issues.
Yeah.
Because I think, wasn't Sarah, she wasn't well-to-do. Like, wasn't that part of it, too?
I think part of Ramsley's motive to kill Elizabeth was that she was going to marry Gracie and he was going to run off with her and just leave behind his fortune, like everything that he had built.
Oh.
So
that's not your fortune to worry about, buddy.
Yeah.
If he wanted to do that, then he should do that.
Right. And if anything, Gracie has no heirs or anything, and Ramsley was like his second. He could have left it to him instead. It would have worked out if everyone just got to be what they wanted to be.
I know. But no, Ramsley had to just butt in, none of his business.
Because he wants to be the butler forever?
Dude, you could go off and do what you want. He was in love with him.
Ooh, yeah, probably.
That's what it was. Mm-hmm.
Inappropriate.
Ramsley, I see what's
There's
up.
an age difference there, too.
There is, yeah. But interesting. So how do you think they compare these ghosts to all the other movies?
Nothing like 13 Ghosts.
No.
Nothing.
Although trauma.
Trauma and that they are physical.
Yeah.
Like, physically look like people. Casper, not at all.
Although...
aside from the orb thing.
The orb and then Amelia.
Yes.
So I feel I saw the parallel between like Amelia and
Elizabeth's ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I could see that. And what was the other one? Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Did you see Zool?
Zool was not in the Haunted Mansion.
No.
I would say this is the most... It's weird to say it like 13 Ghosts, where it's just like who they are kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then, but kind of a mix of Casper because they could do the whole see-through-y blue
right
stuff. So it's like an in-between there.
Yeah. And it also takes place in this one place and everything like that. I guess they all have that in common, all taking place in the one central point of the story. Mm-hmm. Mansion, manor, glass house in the woods.
House. Yeah. And
aside from Ghostbusters.
It's interesting. I didn't mention this in 13 Ghosts, but again, it had to do with a house/contraption. So did Casper. Had
with
the
Lazarus
/contraption.
Yeah.
The apartment, kind of contraption-like.
Well, with what was holding them,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was almost the same idea as what was happening with 13 Ghosts, except they just didn't have an end plan for the spirits.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think most of these movies that we'll watch all take place in the central location, because that's just the trope, haunted mansion, haunted houses, kind of a thing. So it's like all these places tend to be almost a character in and of itself.
Right.
Like it's literally called Haunted Mansion.
Yes,
it's not called
that's true.
Gracie's Curse, It is the Haunted Mansion.
Right.
So that's interesting how they're all tying in together a little bit.
Yeah.
Like with the similarities.
Almost like we're doing a season on Ghosts.
I know, but like on Ghosts, but the Ghosts have been fairly different across the board. But the buildings, buildings are tying together.
Yes.
We'll see.
Intricate web.
Yeah.
Like the spiders.
Like the spiders. Do you have any other thoughts on the ghosts? Or did you like their portrayal of ghosts in this movie?
I didn't mind it so much. It was kind of atypical, I felt like. It was like nothing noteworthy.
Oh,
aside from the opening of Hell. That was a thing.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. I didn't think we were going to go
as far, yeah.
Like, I thought maybe he'd be banished to a nondescript place. But no, I think they legitimately, this is hell.
Yeah.
Like, you're going down there. So.
Which is weird that he, summoned it by damning them. Which, doesn't make any sense. But okay.
That was it. That was the last straw. It's like, okay, buddy.
Time to go.
Okay, you're bad. Before, you were trying to kill Elizabeth or Sarah Elizabeth.
Maybe because the truth was revealed kind of thing. Sort of like a Casper's with Kerrigan's unfinished business being completed.
Yeah, which is weird because she had to actually say that out loud. For it to
acknowledge it.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, obviously. She had to actually, admit it to herself kind of a thing. So maybe same situation, he had to,
acknowledge that his plan was foiled.
Yeah. And now it's like, okay, well, now that you said that, one-way ticket down, buddy.
Yes.
Nice try. There are some real-life haunted mansions, though, that inspired the Haunted Mansion that we talked about. It was inspired by the Shipley Lydecker house in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh.
Although I don't think that place is actually haunted. But the architecture and structure of the house was inspired by.
Well, typically, haunted mansions fall within that whole, like, Victorian style. Mm-hmm. So I get it.
Yeah, based on my research, now I'll take it with a grain of salt that house was specifically when they were creating the ride and the mansion in the movie,
that's what they were looking at for inspiration.
They were traveling. And then in my research, I also found that they took inspiration from the Winchester Mystery House, too.
Oh.
Yeah, not so much the inside, but I think when they were doing research on ghosts and what a haunted mansion could be. For those of you who don't know, the Winchester Mystery House is in San Jose, California. And it's a massive 24,000 square foot mansion. So it was continuously added on. Like there were stairs that led to nowhere, doors that opened up on the second floor to nothing.
I know that they were specifically kept in like a state of construction.
Yeah, because basically what happened, it was owned by Sarah Lockwood Pardee Winchester. She was the widow of William Winchester, who invented and sold the Winchester rifles. Mm-hmm. She continuously added rooms, staircases, like I said. Basically, the legend surrounding the house claimed that Sarah was told by a psychic that the undead souls who died because of her family's guns were coming to kill her, and she had to keep building onto her house, otherwise the ghost would find her and get her, basically. So that's why...
Jesus, okay.
Yeah, so that's why she kept building and building and building, was to confuse the ghosts and make sure they didn't find her, basically. But this house is, like, crazy. Like a puzzle house, almost.
Yeah.
So it said Disney Imagineer and animator Raleigh Crump said that Disney and his designers took a trip to Winchester House in the years leading up to Disneyland's opening to see how they handled tours and shuffled them through the house in a timely manner to prevent overcrowding.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it was less about the aesthetic and more about how do you get people through a mansion?
Yeah.
Which isn't really a mansion. I mean, it's a mansion, but it's not like any sort of sense. There's
no clear path to follow.
Yeah.
Right? Especially in Winchester.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting
little facts. I was trying to see if the movie was inspired by any specific events, and unfortunately, no. I mean, it's based on a ride.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing.
I do know, though, that there is some report of a ghost maybe on Haunted Mansion. The ride?
The actual ride?
Yes.
It's haunted?
They have, I believe his name is Frank. He, I guess, will cause the ride to shut down or sometimes, well, you know, like stop mid-ride or whatever. If you've ever been on the Haunted Mansion ride when it stops, I have it several times.
Several times?
Several times.
Really?
It's
Does it shut down
like
all
about
the
a
time?
50-50 chance sometimes, I feel like, with the times I've been on it.
That's so weird.
Almost always whenever you're going up the staircase to look at the ghost dancing in the ballroom.
Okay.
I've always been stuck there.
I feel like maybe that part of the ride just needs some fixing.
Maybe. But the lore to that is that happens if the workers of the ride don't say hi to Frank in the morning.
Really?
Yes. They need to acknowledge him, like say hi and bye.
Is there any info on Frank? Like who he was? Why is he haunting the ride?
Well, in general, the Haunted Mansion has quite a few myths, but they're ultimately false. However, there have been quite a few park goers that have tried to spread the ashes of their family members within the ride.
Oh!
Which is not a good idea. I mean, it's frowned upon by the cast because they sweep them up later. But if you think about it, that could easily be Frank.
Oh, yeah.
In a way. Could be a disgruntled employee that just... There's a lot of open-ended ways that it could be Frank.
Interesting. I couldn't imagine, like... Again, if you get to choose where you haunt, like, Haunted Mansion.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Looks like a great time.
I feel like you'd be overshadowed by the animatronics. Like, if I'm going to haunt something, I'm not going to be the...
the focus.
Yeah, I want to be the focus. Like,
I want to be the star of the show.
Yeah,
Let's be legit.
Talking busts or the people dancing. Like, no, notice me.
Yes.
I want to be haunting, like, your study when you're, like, reading or something.
Ooh.
Or throw a book off the shelf. Like, you're not going to notice stuff like that.
Right.
In a ride.
No, that's true.
But I guess if you spread your ashes somewhere, you might just be stuck there.
Maybe. I think that's possible because I feel like it wasn't really mentioned in any of the movies that we've watched so far. But I know in some instances in like scary TV series, people would have to like dig up the bones or ashes of a person to free the spirit from wherever they were haunting.
Could you imagine you died recently, right? You get cremated, and next thing you know, you're stuck at the Haunted Mansion because your family decided to throw your ashes into the ride.
Just disrespectful, honestly. Like,
I mean, I'm sure there's some places in Disney you'd want to stay, right? But not the Haunted Mansion. I mean, I might like the Haunted Mansion.
I probably like Haunted Mansion too,
Oh, really?
honestly. Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite rides.
Really?
It is.
I'm surprised by that.
I was scared of it as a kid, but once I went, I wanted to go again.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Loved it.
Well, never mind. Maybe that is the dream.
Yeah.
To die and be spread into the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. I mean, find me somewhere nice, but also I think I would like to be the star of the show if I have to haunt something.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe that's like a second choice. Like if you can't find me a good mansion to haunt, like a real mansion to haunt, you might as well let me haunt the Haunted Mansion that no one would know I'm there. It is what it is.
Maybe I'd just haunt the park. Because I could.
The whole park?
Yeah, I'd just be busy, like riding Splash Mountain.
Could you imagine, you know how they like, take your picture when you're going down like the roller coasters and stuff? There's just like ghostly apparition of you with your hands out and Mickey ears, just like, woo! The ghost of Stephanie. She's seen on the ride and the photos.
Oh, yes. Or like my little Orby in the background. Yeah. Well, you could be a little tunnel.
Be a tunnel?
Well, remember we were talking about in the very beginning when we talked about the ghost types that you're going to be a ghost tornado.
Oh, yeah. A funnel? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
funnel, not a tunnel.
I will rip up the streets of Disney
Yeah.
as a little tornado.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be sick.
They'd be like, Alex again.
It's me, don't worry.
Every time it rains, Alex gets upset and tears up the streets of Disney. So, would you keep the rating where you had it originally?
Yeah. As of now, I think so. Honestly, I think with the amount of scares, I think it's closer to Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, nothing in Ghostbusters was super scary, and nothing in here was, like, super scary either. But I think the zombie part, there's more, like, I don't want to call it gore, because it wasn't gory, but there's a lot of more, like, decaying bodies and stuff in Haunted Mansion than there was in, like, Ghostbusters.
That's true.
I think the reason the Ghostbusters may have had a higher rating was just some of the inappropriate language, not more so the scares.
That is true. I wonder how that'll ultimately pan out with our conclusion episode.
I know. I kind of have to think about that because I'm trying to think not necessarily...
Should I just rate it on the type of ghost or the type of scare?
Yeah, type of scare, not so much the content of the movie. So, like, you know, there's some inappropriate stuff.
Almost makes me think we'll have to do like a detailed list of how many scares are in each episode.
I know. I'm starting to think maybe Haunted Mansion and Ghostbusters might switch because, again, I'm not rating this on appropriateness for a kid necessarily. I'm looking at it, is it scary?
Right.
And nothing in Ghostbusters was really scary. I guess maybe the part where
demon
she's...
dog thing and possession
but you
stuff.
know what? Call me messed up. I think they're kind of cute.
I mean, yeah, cuter than some things.
Yeah, but I think the whole zombie part...
Yeah.
I think that's, well, honestly, that's only the really scary part. But again, when we talk about the part where he gets dragged to hell, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, that was the disturbing part in like the white of the eyes and stuff like that because his pupils like vanish. He's just like...
Right.
Possessed or something.
The whole being poisoned, and that's scary for the kids.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to have to create a list on each of our notes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do a whole wrap-up at the end of the season where we'll ultimately decide, but, like, I don't know. It's wavering for me. I think Haunted Mansion, like I said, is closer to Ghostbusters than it would be to, like, Casper.
Yeah. Casper feels very safe, honestly.
Yeah, Casper's like, just like, yeah. And it's fine.
Yes.
But Haunted Mansion, I'll have to think about that. But I guess I'll keep it for now. We'll see if it ultimately changes in the wrap-up episode.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show and you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, giving us a 5-star rating is super helpful, and we would definitely appreciate that.
You can find us on social media using 13 Degrees of Screams.
And this has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we will see you next creep.
Cheap, because it rhymes.